Hello friends, Kristen here, and I'm back with your 10 steps to plan a Europe trip. We've covered the first 5 steps in the last 2 videos, so if you missed any of those, make sure you go back and watch those first because these do build onto each other. So we're starting now with step 6. I've already told you to research your top level to figure out where you're going. However, you're going to jump back into research now. Step 6 is details. You need to really dig into the details. So go ahead and get out your master list and take a look at that top category, your big wants, your priority. Here's some of the things that you need to fill in on your list. Again, this is going to be messy. That's perfectly fine. Just scribble it anywhere you can in that list. You're looking for opening hours. When does this open in the morning? When does it close in the evening? Days. Is there a specific day that whatever you want to see is open or closed? Make sure you look at this, especially for museums, because a lot of museums can be closed on odd days, such as a Monday or a Wednesday. Third, you're going to look if reservations are needed. Now this may be in odd places. For example, the Parliament building in Budapest, Hungary. You actually need a reservation for a tour. While you're researching the opening hours and the days and reservation information, go ahead and write down any other pertinent information that's going to affect when or where you're going to do this. There's going to be a lot of tips out there about best times to go, best days to go, things to see when you go. Another example here is going to Versailles. There are certain days that the fountains are on and off. There are also certain days that parts of the garden are closed. But it doesn't have to be hard. Don't get overwhelmed. All you really need to do is a Google search. It's that simple. Best day to go to the Hungarian Parliament. Tips for visiting the Hungarian Parliament. Tips for visiting the Eiffel Tower. Simple Google search. Now you've fleshed out your list, made it pretty messy with a lot of details. There's one more detail that we need to add. You can either write this on your list or you can mark it on a map. Because step number 7, map it out. Those places that you really must go, your big musts, and maybe some of your big wants as well, that second category that's on your list, you're going to map these out. There's a few ways you can do this. You can actually take the map itself and plot it out. And if you're doing a road trip like we're doing in Normandy, I would suggest that because you're really paying attention to driving routes. But even if it's just one city, you may want to go ahead and get your map out and take a dry erase marker if it's something like these streetwise maps, and you're going to mark where you are going, all the different places that's on your list. Because if you group by location and plan according to location and neighborhood, you're going to be a lot more efficient and be able to see more without having to jump on the metro or jump in a cab so much. Here's another free recommendation for you. We love these streetwise maps. They are dry erase kind of material, foldable, only one level. I absolutely love these things. In a pinch, they also work as an umbrella. I mentioned other maps that are in the back of the guides that I really like, these Lonely Planet pocket guides. Those are good maps too, but something I've learned, you never really want to rely on one map. Having multiple maps is usually the best idea. It may get a little confusing. If you need to pare down to 2, I would go for the streetwise and the one in the back of the Lonely Planet guide. But having multiple maps is a pretty good idea because sometimes, especially with things on the edge of those maps, they may be included on one map and not on another. One may be more updated than another. So it's really important to have more than one source, even if that second source is going to be on your phone in Google Maps or a Maps.me type of application. Once you've mapped everything out, you can get a good idea of what things are located close to each other, which allows you to move on to step number 8. Step number 8 is the fun part. You're going to start sketching in your itinerary. And I say sketch because, pro tip, use a pencil. Again, there's a few different ways that you can do this. It's all about what you prefer. You can use a notebook and write out your days. Here's our Normandy plans, October 3rd, October 4th, get it? And I have grouped what we are seeing on those days underneath the days. So it's basically like I wrote out my own little calendar. You could do this on note cards, on sheets of paper, where each day gets its own note card or own piece of paper, or you could just go old school, break out your day planner. This one is my favorite, by the way, Day Designer, love it. And let me find October. This is how I actually started to map out my Budapest itinerary. So I have it grouped on the different days. So basically just draw yourself out a calendar, whether you're doing it on pieces of paper or an actual calendar, use pencil, and go ahead and start sketching in when you're gonna see things, on what days. And this is where you can start grouping things according to location, opening days, hours. The best way to do this is you're gonna start with your most important priorities, the big must on the top of your list. Put those in first because you're gonna want to schedule around those. Once you have those big musts in, then you're gonna start filling in some of the other musts. If you can group them together on the same day, that's fantastic. Get out your map again and figure out what's close to those big musts. Are they open on the same day? Great, you can go see it on the same day. Efficiency. This is where you can also start using some of those little fill-ins. If you notice that a small fill-in activity is very close to two of your big priority musts that you're gonna do on the same day, and you think you got 15 minutes to go look at it, fantastic, throw it in there. So here's a really good example of what I ended up doing with our itinerary for Budapest. On Saturday, we're doing all of the Buda Castle and Fisherman's Bastion and the changing of the guards at the Presidential Palace all on the same day because they're all right next to each other. It makes the most sense to do it all together. After calendaring everything in, you've got a sketch of your itinerary. Things are starting to really shape up, and you're probably getting pretty excited, but don't book anything just yet. Step number 9, let it stew. You heard me, let it sit. I know it's super tempting to go out there and start booking things and get things moving, but don't do it just yet. Having a little time, even if it's just a few days, for everything to kind of sit and simmer and you can talk to whoever you're going with, this really helps. This is also why I told you to use a pencil, because I want you to have some time to make changes. Okay, you ready for tip number 10? It's in the next video, which I promise is coming tomorrow.